Welcome back to Rhythm Connect. I'm your host, Umayal Eswaran, and I'm happy to welcome you back as part of our growing community that believes in the power of connection, inclusion, and shared stories. This is the show where we dive deep into stories of resilience, inclusion, and the extraordinary power of community to transform lives. Today's guest embodies these values in a unique way. Before I introduce him, I must say that what he does is very new territory for me. In the words of Amazon, knowledge is when you learn something new every day. And I'm glad to have had the privilege of learning from all the guests we've had on this show. My guest today is Ganesh Ramanathan, who serves as the president of Parabowls Singapore. Now, for those of you who are wondering what Parabowls is, you first need to know what lawn bowling is. Lawn bowling is a sport that requires precision, strategy, and skill, where players aim to roll balls as close as possible to a target. It's a game of patience and technique, enjoyed by people of all ages. Parabowls is an adapted form of lawn bowling designed for individuals with disabilities, ensuring they can participate fully and competitively. It opens doors for athletes with physical challenge to engage in a sport that promotes inclusion, camaraderie, and personal growth. Ganesh isn't just leading an organization, he's championing a movement, one that's making lawn bowls accessible to people with disabilities and proving that sport isn't just for the few, it's for everyone. Ganesh, welcome to Rhythm Connect.
Hello, Datin. Thank you for having me on the show.
Which came first for you, your love for lawn bowl or your advocacy for inclusion? So I would also like to understand, where you kind of stepped into that inclusion and also working with people with disability. Was it your legal background that sparked your interest in the sport, or did the sport itself reveal new perspective on inclusion?
Okay, firstly, it's my love for lawn bowls that came first. In 2011, I came across the sport. I tried it out. I enjoyed playing it, and I continue to play it till today. So because I enjoy playing the game, I decided to be one of the ambassadors to step up to promote the game. So that's why I stepped up into the management committee. I was previously in the management committee of the Bowls Singapore, which caters to the able-bodied players. And presently, I'm in the management committee of the Parabowls Singapore, which caters to the persons with disabilities.
So I remember trying this lawn bowl. I mean, not trying, but I looked at it when I was in New Zealand and they had it. I mean, it didn't look easy to play though. I looked at the distance as well, right. And you have to hit that ball that far away. And I saw a lot of old people doing it better than I was trying to do. I didn't know where my ball was going. So it's not an easy sport though, from what I have seen, because I don't play. I always thought it's easy, and I always thought that the lawn bowling, it's the older people who play it. But you need that precision, you need that, I think, focus, right? How does that help people with disability? Because that sometimes it's not easy for them, right? So how do you make it inclusive, the sport?
Okay, actually the sport itself is quite simple. You roll a jack, and then you roll your bowl to reach as close as possible to the jack.
Yeah.
Right? That's the simple aim of the game.
Yes.
But the challenge here lies because while the jack is a round circular ball, your bowl has got a bias on one side, which means it is weighted on one side, which means you cannot bowl it straight. You have to bowl it in an arc.
Yes, I've seen them do that.
So that is why you have to draw an imaginary line, an arc, right? And then you roll your bowl. And the other challenge is because at each end, okay, one end you play if you're playing singles, you play 4 bowls each, you and your opponent. Then you go over to the other end and then you roll the jack back and so on and so forth. So each end, you can end up playing a different distance. You may start off by playing like 25 meters, but when you come back, it may be 23 meters. And then when you go up, it can be 28 meters. So that's where the challenge lies, because every time your line will change. And because of that, your weight control will also change. Yeah. But having said that, because it is a low impact sport, right? It's suitable for persons of all age groups and abilities.
Yeah.
So persons on wheelchairs, right? No problem. They can sit on their wheelchair and they can bowl, because this is a game mostly played with your arm.
Yes.
Yeah, with your hand.
Yes.
Persons who are ambulant, okay, they adjust their posture, position, and then they bowl.
Right.
Persons who are visually impaired, right? Okay. So in the center of the ring, they will have a string drawn across the entire ring. This will give them, act as a guide for them. Okay, currently our players are not totally blind, they're adult blind, which means that they have impaired vision. They can see, some of them can see like 3 to 5 meters, some of them can see peripheral vision.
Yes.
So they can still see the string right in front of them. So they use that as a guide to bowl. So it is a suitable sport for the disabled as well as the able.
The world of sports is very different from the legal field, yeah. So was there a specific moment, a match, a conversation, or an encounter that shifted your perspective and made you realize that lawn bowls has the power to unite people beyond the game? Because, you are now working with people with disability, right? So somewhere like you also there would have been a shift or thinking that, from you having the interest to play and then playing with people who are able and who are fine, but then that shift of empowering people with disability.
Okay, firstly, I must say, I've played a few sports over the years. This is one sport where you actually, when you play a very good shot, your opponent actually, claps for you, right? In football or in any other sport, when you score a goal, you don't expect your opponent to clap or to say well done.
Yes.
But here, or even in tennis, badminton, whatever, in an individual sport, you play a fantastic shot. Your opponent might say, but that's more of an exception rather than the norm, I would think. But here, the culture is such that actually, if you or even your opponent plays a very good shot, an excellent shot that really changes the hit over there, you actually like show your appreciation by just tapping on your thigh. And it's a culture.
Oh, wow.
So that is something that I found that struck me, because I think that actually during the game, while the game is going on, you have an appreciation for a player's shot. You don't just always think about yourself. So that is one thing. Why did I shift from, like I said, I continue to play.
Yes.
Why I came from Bowl Singapore to Parabowls Singapore is because I see that they are interested. They want to play. They want to be given the opportunity to play, the platform, to play the venue. And so I thought, okay, my predecessors, when I came in 2022, I came in as a normal committee member, stepped up to be vice president a year later. Now I'm the president. Over the years, my predecessors, the association is now 21 years old. Over the years, the predecessors have brought the association to a certain level. And I thought that, it's time for me with my new team to bring it up to the next level, to spread it out more, right? To reach out to more disabled persons. And we also have the elderly in our midst. The elderly have been included in our constitution. Promoted to them and promoted both as a social game as well as a competitive game. For those who are the better players, give them an avenue, an opportunity to go play regionally, internationally. some of them, they have the desire to really...
That's why I was going to come. The next question I was going to ask is, do they represent like Singapore or at the national level or ASEAN level? How does it work?
Yes, okay. So if you talk about SEA Games first, okay.
Yes.
Okay, out of the 11 or 12 Southeast Asian countries, half play lawn bowls, the other half play patang. Patang is a French version. It's a similar game but played on a different surface. Basically, it is also the jag, and then you throw your bowl closest to the jag. Right. It's a similar concept, but that's played on gravel. Lawn bowls is played on a smooth grass or artificial turf. So it's more of a flat surface.
Yes.
So because it's half and half, not every SEA Games will have this sport. So among the Southeast Asian countries, the countries that play this more often is Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Brunei, and Philippines. So Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and all that, they play patang. So you don't only when like Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore host the games, you will have this. But even then, it's now changing. Although Thailand is hosting SEA Games this year, apparently lawn bowls is not included because nowadays there are so many sports fighting to come into the competitive arena, and I suppose due to venue issues, time issues, and other various issues, organizers have to select.
This is interesting. So I'm going to throw something at you anyway. I think the world itself tends to sometimes put them aside because they somehow think that in the context of population and percentage, they are kind of not the biggest group or something. So if you look at Olympics and if you look at even SEA Games, see, this is the thing. So I have an issue when they put them aside and they think, okay, we need to do the other games and not this. But you see, these are the people, if you want to embrace them into our community, we need to empower them. So how do we empower is you give them this platform, isn't it? So does Malaysia have Parabowls Association as well?
Yes, they are pretty strong as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in fact, the able-bodied bowls players are in fact among the best in the world. They have a good, strong Parabowls setup as well.
I think I need to, because I think we need to, because that's our work, in RYTHM. It's one of the areas of our work is we have a school for children with special needs. And we work at the individual development programs. We look at the progress of the child, the way that, not at the speed we want them to go, but we go with how much they are comfortable and how they are progressing, right? So in the school, so one of these things is we do have a lot of children or sometimes, teenagers come to us with, disability. And I think this is one area that now I think RYTHM Foundation can get more involved in Malaysia. So I think through your association now, we are learning we're learning about parabowling and what can be done. You have been working with people with disability for some time now. Do you have any stories of, someone that you have seen, who comes in, who came in and probably didn't have the confidence because with whatever the disability or something, and getting into the sports, and someone who's doing well and also has represented maybe Singapore and done well and has built that confidence, because a lot of times there's people with disability, a lot of times they kind of think that they don't have what it takes, So do you have any stories that you can share and inspire us?
Definitely, sure. I would like to share the story of this gentleman called Mahendran Pasupati. He was in the police force. In his early 30s, he started to lose his eyesight. He went for checks and all that. Initially, they couldn't determine what it was, and finally, they just said it's hereditary. So over the years, it became, deteriorated such to the extent that we could only see a very close distance. Like I said, he's one of those who can see only about 3 to 5 meters ahead. Right. So from then, mid-30s up to 70s, well, he somehow spent his time. He picked up bowls just before COVID struck, I think probably 2019 or early 2020. Then COVID struck. So then a lot of restrictions and lockdowns and all that. But when things started to open up, bowls was one of the first games here in Singapore that actually could open up because it is played in the open and it is no contact.
Proximity, yes.
Yeah. So he came back to play. And he, over the years or through nature, he's a bit of a fitness, is into fitness. So I think during the years before and even during COVID, he did a lot of walking. The 10,000 steps or 10,000. So he did a lot of walking. So when he came back, right, to play bowls, he found it suitable because not only did it meet his requirement of walking a lot, because a game can easily take you an hour or 2 hours because by the time you play 18 ends, right? It's a leisurely, it's not, I wouldn't say leisurely, it is played at a reasonable pace.
Yeah.
But you walk up and down, a game can take 2 hours. So that fit in well into his sporting thing. He easily can get this 10,000 steps.
Of course.
But because he enjoyed it, so he actually was quite a good player. And because he was a good player, of course, we pulled him into the national team. So with a bit of training. And then when there were some overseas, when the things opened up a bit more and there were overseas competitions, we sent him as part of the team. And over the past 2-3 years, right, 23, 24, he has actually won 1 bronze medal and 2 silver medals in his category.
Wow.
Right?
And this is a guy who can only see
about close distance.
Yeah,
okay,
right?
so
but this one you should be able to see the distance as well, right?
So what they do? Okay, so for the visually impaired persons, you normally have a director, a guide, who will guide to tell you, right, at the other end, which is let's say 25 meters, where the ball has landed.
Right.
And because he, like I said, he's not born blind, he knows directions. He knows the clock.
Yeah.
So if you tell him, okay, 2 o'clock direction, 2 meters away from the jack. So in his mind, then he will map it. Right. So that's how the visual impaired players do it. They map it. So okay, but he was not, interested in being a national sports player or being a medalist. For him, it's more fitness and keeping fit. But the thing I want to share is actually his family is very grateful to the sport and to the association.
Yeah.
Because it gave him an opportunity, like a second lease of life.
Yes.
Because from one sitting at home and just going for some walks, he is now literally coming every day, almost every day or every other day, to play. Because it's not just about, like I said, not just a competitive game. You can play it socially, just play it for your own fitness, own active and healthy lifestyle. So they're happy. He's happy. They are happy, right? That he's actually out and about doing his activity, and they are. In fact, the wife is also now come forward to volunteer a time as a management committee member.
Wow!
So that's one of a nice story to share.
So that's what we talk about even in the foundation. I talk about how we get families and the community as a whole involved in someone's journey, when someone is disabled, because it's amazing, because it's easy when you are saying, and for somebody to picture, like you said, it's 2 o'clock and, 2 meters or whatever, he needs to map it, and it's not easy. It's easily said than done.
That's right.
We people who are normal people, we can't even do that. You close my eyes and you tell me to throw the ball, will probably go elsewhere and land on somebody's head. So I think sometimes, no, most of the time I think they have more talent, because they are disabled in some form or the other. They have to use everything in them.
Correct.
to move forward, and they fight for life every day. The people who think that I don't want to sit back and look, this is my life and I want to. And I think associations or people like you who coming forward and basically going from, doing from lawn bowling and thinking, okay, let's have this parabowling and help the people with disability. We need to see more of us coming forward and engaging people, whether it's special needs or people with disability, instead of looking at them as a burden, but looking at them something as a gift to the community. So I think in that sense, Singapore is also doing quite well in terms of, for people with disability and also special needs. Because I remember before I founded the school, one of the places I came was to Singapore and kind of understand like how the special needs schools work, how the teachers, teach, and how do we keep the parents, train the parents all the time and create awareness. So I think Singapore is doing a pretty good job. So I also want to talk about that, whether it's normal people or whether people with disability. In the foundation, we believe that also the sports have this incredible power to break stereotypes. And in what ways is Parabowls Singapore challenging how societies view disabilities, not just in Singapore, but on a broader scale? Because these people from Singapore are traveling and they're taking part in national events or outside of Singapore or in the SEA Games. Do you really believe, like this story you told us about this person, how is it changing the societies and with looking at people with disabilities? How is it in Singapore?
Okay, so actually you have groups, able-bodied, disabled. I mean, you have various games, and people come to play. But what I want to share is this. Okay, you're right about now the able-bodied get or are seen to be having more opportunities than the disabled.
Yes.
Okay, and in a way, it's true. Like for instance, you see the major games, right? You see first you have the events for the able-bodied. They come and they play, and then they go off. Then next we have the para events.
Yes.
They come, they play. But sometimes it becomes like a secondary thing.
Yes.
They seem to be like, hey, I'm the next.
Yes.
So one thing we'd like to break, talking about stereotypes, is, bowls is one game actually that a disabled player, a person with disabilities, be it on a wheelchair, visually impaired or ambulant, can actually play together with as well as against the able-bodied person. Because the rules are the same.
Yes. Okay.
Right?
Yes.
The distance, the number of ends, the jack, the bowl, the weight, and everything is all the same.
Yes.
Right? The only thing maybe in a para event itself, maybe the timing may be a little bit shorter, but otherwise, generally the rules are the same. So when the rules are the same, see, it's not the same as in rugby and wheelchair rugby, swimming, para-swimming, athletics, para-athletics, because you don't find an disabled or persons with disability competing with the able-bodied person.
Yes, of course.
Because it talks about speed, strength.
Yes.
But here, no, because it's low impact.
Yes.
It don't require speed, don't require strength. It's a strategic game. So this was one of the sports that you can actually play together. And currently, in terms of the national competitions, right? Okay, only the ambulant persons can take part in the able-bodied National Parabowls Singapore events for now.
Right.
Because of accessibility for wheelchair users and the vision impaired. So we have venue restrictions for now.
Right.
But social games, we have organized social events. We mix them up. The able-bodied, disabled persons mixed up in a team, maybe in a triple, so you can have a mix of them play against the other team. So this is a sport that you can actually have everybody together, playing together at the same time against each other. And one thing where we want to try and break even further is probably have an open competition, probably later this year or next year.
Nice.
You can have an open for everybody to play.
Yes, that's nice.
So that's something we would like to try and do. I'm not sure if other countries have done it, but we'd like to. That's
a nice thing to try and also to see, right? Because, we have seen many times in the normal sport scenario, and you see like when somebody's running or something and somebody gets hurt and fall down, you see some of them will stop and help that person, and kind of everyone runs together, or everyone, they try to help, because we are supposed to have, as a human being, we are supposed to have compassion, and kindness. So maybe when you have this kind of sports, it also makes the able people to also see, and at the same time to give them the opportunity, also to give them the chance to see that, so they feel that they are part of the society and not feel sorry for them, but rather embrace them and see like, so I think to bring them together and then having that an event where you have both disabled and the ability, and probably they're competing. I think that's a good idea to do. And like I said before, that Singapore is often seen as a leader in disability inclusion. I mean, I've always seen it because I've been coming in and out of Singapore all the time. And I see that they're very conscious even in the buildings. You have the wheelchair accessibility is in that sense. Singapore is very conscious of it. From your perspective, what policies or cultural shifts have made the biggest difference? How can other countries learn from Singapore's approach?
Okay, you're right. Actually, here in Singapore, the government takes an active step. It engages with the community, right, with the disabled groups, individuals, either through directly in their platforms or through their agencies. They get feedback. Okay, do you need shelter? Do you need more ramps? This and that. So they try and in national development, so they try and provide all these facilities like travel in buses, right, where you have access to wheelchair access. So in the sporting arena, right, just last November, the minister announced a Disability Sports Master Plan 2024.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the broad idea is to build more inclusive and sustainable sporting ecosystem for persons of all abilities. And part of it, it includes basically encompasses increased accessibility to sports venues, enhance awareness of sports and opportunities for persons with disabilities, and fulfill aspirations of the para-athletes. And they hope to increase the number of regular participants from 3,200 to 5,400 by 2030. So the government is taking steps more now, I must say.
Yes.
They have the ideas, and I hope that it'll be put into action soon, so that the persons, the para athletes, right, will have more accessibility. See, accessibility is one issue.
Yes.
The venues, like I said, there's only one public. If we talk about bowls, one public bowls green. The other two are in private clubs.
Right.
So
there's only one.
I mean, everybody's fighting for one.
Yes.
So if you have more spaces for them, so just talking about bowls, right?
Yes.
Then we can actually go out and reach out to more persons who come and play. So things like this, Singapore has taken a lead, is taking a lead. Shift in ideas happening now, and I hope, right, it translates.
Yeah, I think hopefully this, what they're coming up with now, Singapore is talking about taking that lead and the step and recognizing that they need to do more for the people with disability, maybe on the sports angle, and empower them and give them more opportunity. I think this is something probably all the ASEAN countries to start. Maybe we look at it because you do have a lot of people with, disability. And I sometimes see this in certain countries, where they are restricted to go to certain universities or certain educational centers and things like that because of accessibility, because they can't reach. Sometimes no lift, sometimes the stairs doesn't have the access for the wheelchair, right? So it limits them. I think in this area, I think most of the ASEAN countries can do a lot more, and I think if Singapore is taking this step, because I remember some years back, that I remember reading it in a New Straits Times here. It was a big article on talking about, for the people, special need children, and how Singapore was already thinking that the insurance companies should have insurance for children with special needs. Because what if tomorrow both the parents are not no more? How are these children going to live in this world? Right. So they were already so forward thinking. This is probably I think it's like 6, 7, maybe 10 years ago, I read this huge article, and I remember I was on a flight back to KL, and I took that article back with me to KL because I wanted to talk to the insurance companies there or the policymakers and say, how can we do that? Because this is the concern of every parent who has a child with special needs. So in many ASEAN cultures, the stigma around disability still lingers. Yeah. I mean, I think even in ASEAN especially also, that families sometimes don't want to tell that, they have a child or they have a brother or sister with disability. What role does Parabowls Singapore play in challenging these perceptions and creating spaces of acceptance and understanding? Because you're giving opportunity to these people with disability, which means you as an association must see the potential in them. How many people with disability do you have right now?
Okay, in the association, we have about 60 members, but out of that number, there are about 30 persons with disabilities. The other 30 are able-bodied, but who come in to help out, either volunteer, like us, management committee, or as a coach or as a guide. But there are 30 persons with disabilities of various types. We have wheelchair persons who have been affected by polio from young age, right? Persons who use wheelchair due to various health or medical issues.
Right.
We have ambulant players, persons with visual impairment. So there's a mixed group there. And out of that 30, I think about at least 20 are a bit more regular and can form a part of the national team. At least 10 of them are more regular. But this numbers needs to grow because we cannot keep it at this number, and also and they are also in their 50s, 60s, 70s.
Right.
So we need to introduce this sport to newcomers, new persons.
We're also younger bit than the ones
correct.
who are,
Yeah.
Because sometimes people disability, and if it's a sudden one, if it's not from birth, sometimes they go into depression. They take a lot of time to adjust. But this is something you're also coming out, right? It's you're not in a closed space, and you're also seeing your peers, because other people who are probably with different kind of disability coming there, talking to them. So does this happen? Let's say even in your 20% or 30% of them. I mean, do you think because of them coming together, playing the Parabowls, and is that changing the dynamics and the space for people with disability, even in the smallest way? Are you making changes with the Parabowling?
We can really hope to do it. We've been trying actually, but just want to share, it's somehow not easy to rope in persons with disabilities, because we have over the years approached groups, associations that cater to persons with disabilities. We say, hey, look, there's such a game. Would you like to send your players, or would you like to introduce this sport to you? Initially, they will express interest, but somehow there's no follow-up. Then you wonder why. Are they busy with their own activities, a curriculum, or what?
Right.
Or is there, say, hey, what's the big deal? It's a slow sport. But that's one challenge we are finding, to actually get these people to come to our space, right? So now we have devised a plan. We now are promoting short mat bowls. Short mat bowls is actually, it's a mat. It's about 14 to 17 meters by 2 meters. It's rollable. You can fold it, roll it up. You can store it when you're not using it. And then when you're ready,
so it's a mat. You just roll it out. Okay.
That's why short mat bowls.
Right. Okay.
It's a shorter version of the long one.
Okay.
I told you. So this is better. Why? Because firstly, it can be played indoors.
Right.
In your multipurpose court, or anywhere with space. You have a 25 meter space by 25 meter space, because this mat is about 14 meters, right? So you can roll it out. So it is indoors. We don't have to bother about the hot sun or rain.
Right.
And for an introduction, because it's like a shorter, because if you bring them out to the outdoor field, it's 30 meters. I mean, people might not reach.
Yeah.
So
true.
this is a more achievable sport. You show them the ropes first. Okay, like a shorter distance.
Yeah.
Show them the basics. Let them have some fun. Let them, if they're happy to continue, fine. Then for those who are interested, they say, hey, okay, this is good. Then you bring them out.
Level.
So this is what we are trying to do now. If we're having difficulty getting people to us, the outdoor field, we bring this to you.
Yeah.
So we have invested money in getting some of these mats. We are working with partners who either cater to elderly or disabled. loan this mats to them for the benefit of their beneficiaries. So that's one way we are trying to break the thinking, the system. And,
have you started already?
Yes, it started already.
So is that slowly working its way? Or?
Yes, it is. It is more. There's been more interest now because, like I said, also nationally, there's more. Government itself, like I said, is trying to do more for disabled and sports.
Yes.
So people are becoming more aware. They know that and also because it's an aging society now.
Yes, yes, of course. Singapore is,
So it's good for, persons of all age group, but of course for the elderly, the seniors, it's good.
Those keeps their mind active.
Yes, actually, that's the thing. Like I said, this is not just a physical sport.
Of course,
it's a mental sport. It's a
it's really
strategic sport.
I don't know if I'm saying I'm actually interested to try because I now I understand what you said because I saw the ball going this way and I was thinking, why can't they just roll it straight? Like a bowling alley.
10-pin bowling, yeah.
Yes. I said, why is it going sideways like that and going? So I think I don't think it's an easy sport.
It is not an easy sport.
You play, so you can tell me. I don't think it's an easy sport.
Easy to learn, but difficult to master. That's what the saying goes in this.
Okay, yeah.
But like I said, because at every end, your distance is different, so your line will be different. So, but if you enjoy it, you will really love it.
Yeah, you will.
So that's keeps me going because we have a group of people who are interested to continue to play and who want to be at the competitive level. So together with my team, we hope to continue to provide them with the opportunity to play, to train. We have a coach to coach them and send them for whenever there's some overseas competitions or events. Send them, have exposure, come back. And as in anything here, of course, you win the medals, you come back, you get more recognition, you probably get more space. It's one of those chicken and egg situation.
So, hopefully I'm hoping that Singapore and Malaysia, because since it's very, it's the parabowling is there. Hopefully, they will push the SEA Games and, they will have that representation for parabowling,
2027, it's in Malaysia and 2029 is going to be in Singapore. So hopefully the next when we continue to do well in 2029.
Okay, let's see 2027 whether we can do something with Malaysia, see if they can push and have a parabowling.
Yes.
That is something that I think it will also give that push to the country as well for being, I think, recognizing people with disability, giving the opportunity and fighting for them. I think that'll give a presence also for the country at the world level. I think
it'll bring the stereotype, the Asian stereotype that the disabled are they are limited in terms of activities or planning or intelligence and all that. Actually, it's not. You just give them, they just don't want to. Having mixed with them for the past 2-3 few years. They don't want to be treated differently or specially, right? Yes. They just want an opportunity, equal opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's what, if we provide them with it, they will find ways to excel and do well. So that's the stereotype that we need to.
Yes, we need to break. I think first, I always say it's that our mindset, it's not theirs. Yeah. I think the problem is in us that we need to, who are we to make the decision for them? In the sense, open up, give them that opportunity, give them the platform and see if, of course, some of them will excel, some of them might not, some of them will do their best. But if we don't give that space and then opportunity, then we cannot sit here and say, disabled people are a burden to the society.
That's right.
So I think the burden is in our heads. It's not in there. So we need to change. And anyway, Ganesh, thank you for sharing your incredible journey and insights. I am surely going to go and try one of these days.
Please do.
So your work with Parabowls Singapore reminds us that inclusion isn't just about providing opportunities. It's about creating environments where every person feels seen, valued, empowered to shine. To everyone listening, here's a thought to carry with you. What small actions can we take in our own life to break down barriers and create spaces where everyone feels they belong? As we wrap up today's episode, remember this. Real change happens when we shift our focus from what people can't do to the limitless possibilities of what they can do. Together, we can build a world where no one is left behind. Thank you for joining us on Rhythm Connect. Until next time, let's keep the rhythm of inclusion alive, one story at a time.